Hi, how you doing? K.Y.R.A TV. We got a beautiful guest today. Lead with your name and what level you are.
What level?
What school level? Like,
Okay, I
yeah.
see. So I'm Eva Massali, coming from France, and I'm 300 level. Basically, I'm studying in France, but here I'm doing an exchange year in Ghana. And so I'm in my final year of bachelor, well, in France at least.
Exactly. You know, I say year or level because you don't ask a woman her age. It's not,
I see.
So for guys, what's your age? But for girls, I try to do
Okay, I
what's your
see.
level, you know what I mean? And you already said it, but where are you from?
So France, basically, coming from Paris.
Bougie.
I'm
Ava's
telling you,
bougie.
I'm from a city next to Paris. If you
Oh,
want, well,
okay,
the
okay.
city is also bougie, so
Exactly.
kind of.
Okay, so let's get into it. I love that you're looking at the camera because that's
Okay.
always good.
Okay.
And so yeah, we used to stay here. Sometimes I'll look at you, of course, but we're really is an interview. Okay. First question is, how do you feel about the current state of Africa? You know, we have a lot of discussions, Pan Africanism, and so I'm curious to know your perspective. How do you feel about the current state of Africa? Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like if I have to compare with the country of my dad, which is DRC, I'm kind of like pessimistic in a way because, well, I don't know, there is so much going on. That is to say, war, extreme poverty when it comes to DRC, war that have been around for years and years. For example, recently you had like the president of the state who just said to the Catholic Church, "Let's pray for a miracle." And I'm like, guy, you are the president. So I
Exactly.
feel like there's so much going on, but not a lot of positive perspective, especially when it comes to politics.
Exactly.
So in that sense, politically, I'm feeling a little bit like pessimistic when it comes to DRC, because you have other examples of country like Senegal, I would say, that are actually getting rid of, well, France in a way.
Yeah, with Senegal, or do you mean
Senegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, the new president, Bassirou, I think,
Okay.
what he did, he removed like the French military base.
Yeah. I thought
Out
that was.
of
I thought that
Senegal.
was because this is recent news. Yeah, I thought that was one of the three Sahel, like Niger, Burkina, and
Mali?
I thought it was
Yeah.
one of the three.
They did.
Okay.
And Senegal too.
And
But
wow,
Senegal,
wow,
it
wow.
wasn't for the same like reasons.
Of course.
But you have a lot of also French interference, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah,
And he
yeah.
said, rightfully so, how can a country that basically colonized, enslaved, can still act as if they have like the hegemony to put the
This
military
paternal,
base?
like, let
Yep.
me take care of you.
Of course,
after
of
I
course,
stole
of course.
from you. Yeah.
So to answer properly to your question,
Thank
sorry,
you.
sorry, I'm.
It's okay.
So I feel like coming to Ghana, I saw a lot of positive stuff also, because I would say in the mainstream media, the image they're showing about Africa, this is only the image of poverty, not a lot of like economic development. They're only framing it in a certain way for you to develop like pity.
Exactly. Or like this negative connotation.
Exactly. So I feel like actually going to Ghana, I saw there's a lot of things going on, a lot of initiative, startups. So you can have high hopes. I think economically, I don't know, but also I'm kind of pessimistic by nature, I would say. So I'm
I
not.
love that.
I don't know. And
Yeah,
also for me, I believe that if you have a development that only is beneficial to a really tiny minority,
Exactly.
can we really call it development also? And I feel like in Ghana, I won't say it's the most unequal country of this
course.
world. Like,
Yeah.
but you can see still that even the wealthy part sometimes, like, it's some Ghanaian, but sometimes it's like expats,
Of course,
some
yeah.
Lebanese.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
so it's not that bright, even with the bright side. You see.
Okay. So you gave us a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. This is Ava. Yeah. and I don't know if you noticed, but we both kind of wearing like these pastel, just
That's
like
true.
colors, which is kind of dope. I saw while I was looking at this, but it's true, in terms of the DRC and that political turmoil, and you mentioned Ghana and it being a little bit more maybe stable or developed, but it just in ways having that a similar corruption. There's no reason why a president should be looking at a church and say you should help us. You should have the autonomy to help yourself, especially as the leader of the country. So I understand what you mean. Next question. That was long.
Yeah,
let's become concise now.
Yeah,
Let's get to it. Okay. No, you can't even. Next question is, when you hear the word African American, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Like, I know you are part of the diaspora. You kind of know us, but I want the raw, uncut, unfiltered version. When you hear the words African American, what do you think of?
I have a simple mind. So first of all, I'm thinking about like Tupac, Nicki Minaj, people.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
No,
but
it's
like
good,
I'm
it's
thinking
good.
about the culture 1st, and then like about famous African Americans, Beyonce. Rihanna is an African American, right?
Yeah,
Or-
she's Caribbean. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's close.
And
Yeah.
I don't even know. You see, the definition for me, it's also hard. For example, I thought Barack Obama was African American, but at the same time, he's not really. He's African coming into
From
America.
America, exactly.
So,
It's a little different, yeah.
Factually, about the culture of Africans have been being deported from Africa to America, I think a lot about, well, individuals, the political fight, I don't know, movement like Black Lives Matter, even though you could criticize them in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think about like a lively culture that
Okay.
influence, let's be honest, the rest of the world.
It's
Like,
true. Okay.
let's be honest, like
it is.
even in Europe,
We're
have you
dope,
seen
yeah.
South Korea? South Korea.
In terms of their culture. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
there
the
have
hip
been
hop
so-
culture. Yeah,
Rap culture,
huge.
everything.
Yeah,
So I think I'm
the
mostly
rims, the cars. Yeah,
thinking
yeah, yeah.
about culture here.
That's dope, and that's pretty dope. I like that, because a lot of I love that answer, and yeah, I wish we were known more like from our culture and by our culture, because I feel like it's not all the time that our culture is the first thing. Like sometimes it's, I think, the negative things that we're sometimes portrayed as, or sometimes we portray ourselves as, which we need to do better in terms of like gangs and violence and
see.
drugs and like a misrepresentation of our women, like not respecting our women, stuff like that. So it's cool to know that one is the culture, but there's some positive there as well. One of the last ones.
Okay.
What is one thing you wish you knew more about in terms of African culture? You're in Ghana right now, and it's for a reason, I'm sure. Your mom is, French and Algerian. Your
Yeah.
dad's Congolese. What is one thing, maybe even your parents taught you, or something you really wish you knew more about Africa? Ghana, Congo, Algeria, anywhere. Yeah.
I feel like, I realize I know absolutely nothing about the African indigenous religion. I took a class in the University of Ghana to learn more. It's called like African Indigenous Religion and Development, but somehow still now I cannot name one African indigenous religion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, and also I feel like really coming into Ghana, I realized how the traditions have been kept, because I
Yeah,
think from a
yeah,
Western
yeah.
perspective, what you learn is that colonization has destroyed every
yeah.
institutions, political, religious,
Yeah.
and that is true, but to a certain extent,
Exactly,
because, for
yeah,
example,
yeah.
chieftaincy,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
They still got
they
their
still
chiefs.
got the
Yeah,
chief.
yeah,
They still, apparently, the king of Ashanti is even more powerful than
Yeah.
the president somehow.
Yeah. Because the president is only 4 years, maybe 8 if he gets elected. The Asante Hene, yeah.
So I feel like about the religious and political structure that are still kind of here, like deep inside. What else? What I would love to know about Africa.
The one is enough. If you want to do,
Okay,
the one is
okay.
enough. Okay, so last question. You've been doing great, so you're
Okay.
doing great on time.
Thank
Okay. How can we unite? Like, I'm African American, you're part of the African diaspora, we're in Africa. We are like literally the epitome of this conversation. Like, how can all three of these segments unite more in this 21st century?
I'm pessimistic. So
Revolutionary. Revolution. She gets it. But okay,
no,
but still tell us your
I
perspective.
think
It could
we
be
have
anyone.
to
Yeah.
unite on a political basis, because at the end of the day, you see, there's like two movement of Pan-Africanism. You had
Okay.
one which was really cultural on the basis of skin color.
Okay.
That is to say, every black person must unite. That is
Yeah,
African
yeah.
American, Caribbean, well, Africans in Europe or everywhere
South
in the
America,
world.
yep.
So really based on the culture. But what I'm saying in terms of like nationalism,
Yeah.
of course, you have like an African culture in a way that you have like a common basis of like references.
Okay, exactly. I see what you're saying.
But also because of nationalism, people, I do believe, will prioritize the national like
Identity.
identities. That's true. So Pan-Africanism in that 21st century, I think it must be about uniting on the basis of politics, like it has been done into like the 60s. That is to say, for example, Algeria, which is a country not predominantly black, but they were one of the core of Pan-Africanism because of this need and this want to like free yourself from colonialism,
Exactly.
neo-colonialism, and also one of the biggest doom of Africa, where it's also like internal problems, but also caused by external pressure. So there's a need to unite, I would say, on this political basis that no, like the global system is not working for the Africans. So I'm not saying we should do like a Marxist revolution, let's be clear. But
she is saying that.
No, I'm not saying that. But I feel like, oh, sorry,
No, it's good. No, it's
mic.
good. The mic is fine. You're fine. The mic is fine.
But I would say, because symbolic unity for me is not going to change much. When it comes to African American, I think also, I don't know. Like, what would you say? I need an answer coming from the African American, and then I could tell you about the African in Europe. Diaspora in Europe.
Okay. Like my opinion on how we can unite more. It has to be organized. Like I like how you mentioned like political. Like we need to unite politically, economically, like start to pull our monies together, socio-culturally. How do they live? How do the African diaspora live in France? How do the African diaspora live in the Caribbean? How do African Americans live in New York, Chicago, Tennessee, California? So we need to know each other socio-culturally and not just have these ideas or caricatures or like falsehoods that really don't even exist, but we're told about each other through the lens of European structures and programming and TV. And then I think spiritually, like the fact that you're learning about indigenous African cultures is so huge. And I mean, a deep part of me is always so aggravated. And sometimes I don't know why, but I do know why. It's like we worship Christianity so heavily, Islam so heavily, sometimes Judaism, but we, even in, there's a whole sect of African Americans who are like, the tribe of Israel or Israelites. It's just, we do those things so heavily. And it's like, these were the tools of colonizers. These were the trinkets they left, or the trinkets they taught us to like make us more docile in our minds. And it's just like, even today, like, I love that we're, seeking a higher power, but it's like do you really think that God started, Christianity began around what, 200 AD? Do you really think that that's when God,
2000 even, no?
because we're in 2000 right now.
Yeah, but 2000 before, like,
No, not BC. No.
no, but basically it's year zero, like,
Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
year zero.
Okay.
But there's a huge how do I say, school of thought that Christianity, though it talks about BC and 0 and AD or after death of Christ, it only became an institution around
Okay.
200 AD. And I might be watching the
Okay,
numbers.
okay,
But what I'm saying is, did God really only begin in 200 AD? 3,000 years ago, 3000 BC in ancient Kemet, Egypt, we were worshipped like those 10 commandments came from the 42 laws of Ma'at. These laws of balance and integrity, and you're going to be judged to see if you get into heaven. That's the same judgment hall that Egyptians had to walk through in the weighing of the heart ceremony to see if they made it to the afterlife. The afterlife is a lot like heaven, and just all of these nuances that are African, that have been just kind of mingled and changed and tangled. In the European sense, we're just kind of force-fed it, and we don't even look back to know that the origins are us. So I don't have a problem with Christianity. I really don't. I see myself as partly Christian. I have a problem with our ease in which we just eat the slop that we're given, rather than do the digging and realize we created the thing that birthed Christianity. Moses, Christ, went to Egypt for multiple years. Moses studied in Egypt for like 30 years, 40 years. Do you think he didn't learn the spiritual norms there that made him Moses, that made Christ Christ? They were in Egypt, you know what I mean? And so all of these things, it can go very deep, but I think we are spiritual beings living, encountering a physical reality. Until we know the spirit of things and not just what Europeans have taught us through their exploitation and colonization and enslavement, then we can't ever be free. Like, and I just genuinely feel that, like, we speak their language, we worship a God that they taught us, that they got from us, but we now hold their God at higher esteem, and all those things. So I'm getting long-winded, but I'm very passionate about that. Like, I'm very spiritual, and I don't like that.
Spiritually, I feel like I agree and I do not agree.
Okay.
Because when it comes to Christianity, Islam, that are religions that have been imported from other continents, let's be honest.
And places,
I think that they are so deep, and people have kind of took them and
made it their own.
Exactly, exactly. So I feel like now those structures have to stop being like structure of oppression. We need to change that, because at the end of the day, it became a structure of oppression, and we kept that system. But inherently, I think Christianism, and also, well, I'm going to talk for Christianism as I am Christian.
Okay.
But it is not a white man's religion. I think Africans also have to deconstruct the white Christianism that has been brought here in a way, and go back to the original religion that is like a Middle Eastern religion, let's say, which is really universal in a way, and the message of God normally it's for everyone, of course. But we have to deconstruct the structure of power and oppression to not do the same mistake over and over again, and to use those religions to oppress also different groups in people. Africa also.
Come on, and that's a wrap. Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out. See you next week. Oh man.